Has anyone ever given you a book recommendation and you were like, in your mind, I am never going to read that book? What about someone that you love and respect giving you a book recommendation? What do? Of course you read it. So I thanked Anne for this recommendation, and then I saw the size of the book. But I went ahead and read all 1,069 pages of this monster. So do you think that I'm still friends with Anne? Do I still like her after this recommendation? Let's find out. I'm Captain Mike. This is Whiskey and Literature. I do both whiskey and book reviews. And today it is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Alice O'Connor, pen name Ayn Rand, was born in Russia in 1905, immigrated to the United States about 1926. She passed away in 1982. She was an author and a philosopher, most well known for The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. She advocated reason and rationality, and she rejected faith, religion, and altruism. Her works, they've been received with mixed reviews, and honestly, I can really understand why a lot of people would vehemently oppose the ideas that she espoused. Specs and stats of Atlas Shrugged. This was originally published in 1957 and took Ayn Rand 10 years to write. My copy has 1,069 small-typed, small-spaced pages. I did listen to a portion of this on Audible, where it's narrated by Scott Brick for an astonishing 62 hours and 56 minutes. Guys, Part 3, Chapter 7, titled This is John Galt Speaking. That chapter alone took her 2 years to write. Quick question, have you read Atlas Shrugged? Let us know what you think. Or are you planning on reading it? Let us know. Okay, this book covers quite a few genres. It is a romance, a mystery, it's kind of science fiction, and it's a philosophical novel. Okay, the plot. Let's talk about the plot. Or actually, not. I mean, the plot, a book like this is not even the point. The plot is just a vehicle to bring to you the philosophy of Ayn Rand, the philosophy of rationality. I think the story, the plot itself, it's good to very good. It's not really excellent or awesome. Occasionally it does show its age. I think that you could probably condense the entire story of the book down to 250 pages if you removed from the book all of the soliloquies and monologues. But then if you did all of that, we wouldn't be talking about Atlas Shrugged. I mean, there's a reason that it's number 412 on the greatest books of all time list. I mentioned that it's a mystery. We have all the disappearing industrialists. Where are they going? What is Project X? Who is John Galt? You want some science fiction? Well, we have new metals. It's like stronger and lighter and cheaper. There's a new motor that hardly uses any fuel, and it can revolutionize all types of industries. Romance? Oh yeah, we have romance. We have Dagny with Francisco, Dagny with Hank, Dagny with John. I think you get the idea. Honestly, I really struggled with how to review Atlas Shrugged. I mean, how do you review a book like this? And I decided I'm just going to read my 14 favorite quotes from this book. And I understand that reading or hearing quotes without context can be like hearing the punchline without hearing the joke. So I am going to, for some of these quotes, give a little bit of backstory just to kind of help flesh it out. And on some of them, I'm just going to read the quotes. So before we get to that, have you read Fountainhead? If you have, I'm planning on that one next year. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Did you read it before or after Atlas Shrugged? Do you think that makes a difference? Because I've read Atlas Shrugged now, obviously, and I haven't read Fountainhead, but that's on my list. And I did say the channel is called Whiskey and Literature, so we do whiskey and book reviews. And I'm not really going to review this whiskey in this book review, but I've done a lot of talking. So this is a brand new whiskey. I just picked it up today. This is a Beyonce's. It's a celebrity whiskey called SirDavis. It's a rye finished in PX sherry casks. I've had just a really small pours before the review. Honestly, I really like rye whiskeys. I like finished whiskeys. And the full review of that, when I get it done, will be in the description below if you want to check that out for some reason. Okay, let's get on to my favorite quotes. And I have 14 of them, and I'll identify them by the page number. Of course, if you have a different edition or printing of this book, then your page numbers probably will be different. So here we go. The first one, it's on page 98. And this is Dagny talking to Francisco, or she asks him a question. Francisco, what's the most depraved type of human being? His reply, the man without a purpose. Okay, quote number 2. And it's now Francisco talking to Dagny, and this is on the same page, 98. He's challenging her. He says, well, let me see you prove it. Let me see how far you'll rise with Taggart Transcontinental. No matter how good you are, I'll expect you to wring everything you've got, trying to be still better. And when you've worn yourself out to reach a goal, I'll expect you to start another. I've said, and I say to my kids, you should always have a 1-year and a 5-year goal. And at the end of every year, take an honest look at how did you do with that 1-year goal? And how are you making progress towards your 5-year goal? And set a new 1-year goal, and then advance your 5-year goal as well. Okay, quote number 3. So Hank, they were just at a big family dinner or meeting, and he had told them, his brother, his worthless brother, that he would not hire him or give him a job. And this is his mother responding to Hank about what she thought about his decision. That's your cruelty. That's what's mean and selfish about you. If you loved your brother, you'd give him a job he didn't deserve, precisely because he didn't deserve it. That would be true love and kindness and brotherhood. Else, what's love for? If a man deserves a job, there's no virtue in giving it to him. Virtue is the giving of the undeserved. Okay, no explanation needed on that one. Number 4. So looters and moochers, that's how the industrials refer to the government and the raiders who are trying to take over and manage their businesses. So page 381. Money is made before it can be looted or mooched, made by the effort of every honest man, each to the extent of his ability. An honest man is one who knows that he can't consume more than he has produced. Okay, number 5. And this is a total cliche with a twist. Page 382. Money will not purchase happiness for the man who has no concept of what he wants. Money will not give him a code of values. Okay, number 6 doesn't get a backstory. Page 404. The only power any government has is the power to crack down on criminals. Well, when there aren't enough criminals, one makes them. Okay, number 7, and this is Hank talking to Francisco on page 452. You know, I think that the only real moral crime that one man can commit against another is the attempt to create, by his words or actions, an impression of the contradictory, the impossible, the irrational, and thus shake the concept of rationality in his victim. Okay, number 8 is super short, and this is a theme that recurs throughout the novel. And here's an explanation, and then the cliche, and then the quote. If you seem to be confronting a contradiction, then at least one of your relevant beliefs is false. Okay, that's the explanation, and here is the quote. And this, it just recurs throughout the novel. Characters say it to each other, and even those who've said it to characters have it said to them later by other characters. Here we go. This is just one example on page 452. Check your premises. All right, quote number 9. And I'm going to give the quote first and then give my explanation. This is on page 608. From each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. Well, that's not actually from Atlas Shrugged. It's from Karl Marx's 1875 Critique of the Gotha Program. I mean, it is in Atlas Shrugged. It's in chapter 10. But every page of this 1,000-page novel, it screams against that principle. And that idea didn't even begin with Marx. It was some French utopian guy before him. And if you go back even farther, you can find these principles in the Bible. I mean, can you explain to me? Because I cannot explain to you the difference between communism, socialism, Marxism, Mormonism. I mean, honestly, they all sound the same to me. Take from those who produce and give to those who need. Quote 10. This is Dagny talking to one of the few guys in a book she didn't have sex with, and they're in Atlantis. Page 661. She smiled. I know. This is a place where one employs nothing but aristocrats for the lousiest kinds of jobs. They're all aristocrats. That's true, said Wyatt. because they know that there's no such thing as a lousy job. Only lousy men who do not care to do it. I quote 11, and this is John Galt. He built a generator and there's no lock to the housing or the building that surrounds this generator. But there are some words that have to be said to get the door to open. Page 670. I swear by my life and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man, nor ask another man to live for mine. Okay, quote number 12. And this is from the chapter, this is John Galt speaking. And this is probably one of the best monologues in the book. And I'm only going to give a very, very small part of it because it goes on for 3 or 4 pages. In fact, this entire chapter is like 64 pages long. It's page 932. And this is John Galt speaking. My morality, the morality of reason. Actually, you know what? It's actually Ayn Rand speaking. But anyway, my morality, the morality of reason, is contained in a single axiom. Existence exists, and in a single choice, to live. The rest proceeds from these. To live, man must hold 3 things as the supreme and ruling values of his life: reason, purpose, and self-esteem. All right, quote number 13, also within the John Galt chapter, page 937. Achieving life is not the equivalent of avoiding death. Joy is not the absence of pain. Intelligence is not the absence of stupidity. Light is not the absence of darkness. An entity is not the absence of a non-entity. Building is not done by abstaining from demolition. Okay, the 14th and last quote. Thanks for sticking with me if you've made it this far. And I think it's okay to think highly of yourself. I mean, what? Is it better for you to think little of yourself? Page 970, also within the John Galt chapter. Discard the protective rags of that vice which you call a virtue, humility. Learn to value yourself, which means to fight for your happiness. And when you learn that pride is the sum of all your virtues, you will learn to live like a man. Honestly, these are like 14 quotes, and thanks for sticking with me. And I could have read so much more. I could have given more backstory. I could have read you the entire chapter. This is John Galt speaking. I think that chapter should be required reading in high school or junior high. So last year I read 50 of the 50 greatest books of all time. All these classic books. And these books were so foreign to me. They weren't the type of books that I normally read. And so I read about the authors and I read about the books before I turned the first page of those books. And I think that's a really good way to do it. However, I didn't do that with Atlas Shrugged. I only read enough about Ayn Rand to get this script going for this video, and I didn't read any other reviews. I haven't read any critiques of the book. I don't know what the prevailing thought of this book is, but I see it's number 412 on the list of the greatest books of all time, and that's really not very high. I think it should be higher, but I get that it's not really a well-received book, and I really understand why. Like I said earlier, I don't think the overarching plot or story is all that great, but that's not the point. The point is the philosophy behind all of that. It's a lot like last year I read 2 Dostoevskys. I read Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov. And I'm more of a Crime and Punishment kind of guy than The Brother Karamazov, if I have a favorite. But those are in the same vein as Atlas Shrugged. In other words, these books, while they have an underlying story, there is the philosophy that he's trying to put forth as these characters are reacting to the things that they do or that they have done to them. I think that Atlas Shrugged, the plot is less important than in Dostoevsky's books. I also think the plot is less good than in Dostoevsky's books. And I think that the philosophy is more heavy-handed in Atlas Shrugged. It's more in your face. We have chapters and monologues, just page after page of these thoughts just being vomited out to you, the reader. But you know what? To me, I think it is an excellent work. And I think that the ideas and the philosophy put forth in here really resonated with me. This is a worthy read, and the measure of a book is the impact that it has on the reader. And this was like a thunderclap to my soul. I tried to imagine what the world would be like if everyone read Atlas Shrugged and 1984. They're very different books, but they are very impactful, both of them, in different ways. Having said all that, I do really still like Anne, and I'm grateful for this recommendation. I've known Anne my entire life, and I understand why this book is important to her, enough for her to say to me, Mike, you should read this book. And I'm grateful to her for that. And I'm saying to you that I think you should also pick this book up and give it a read and see what you think about it, my dear readers. I would really love to know what your thoughts are. Have you read this book? Do you understand what the philosophy of it is? If you haven't, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think about the story overall in itself? I would love to know. Guys and gals, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe to see more of my content. Again, I do both whiskey and book reviews. But for now, my friends, you know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn the page and stay thirsty. Cheers.